There were calls for the issue of rents to be looked at and a rent freeze. We know that rents are spiralling. We saw the Daft report yesterday. They've risen 10%, and right across the board, you know, people are really struggling to pay their rents, and yet there's nothing contained in the cost of living measures today to look at that. Was that under consideration at all? Well,
what we've done on rents is we've limited rent increases to 2%. So if you're a tenant, you're in an apartment, you're in a house, the maximum that your rent can be increased by is 2%.
But sure, we know that's not happening. Like we've seen that if you look at what's happening actually on the ground, they're going up a lot. There are ways around that, and it's going up an awful lot more than that.
And some of that is to do with new tenancies. And remember, you know, the index that you quoted there, and it's reasonable to quote that index. It's not an official index. It's the daft.ie website. So if you're in an existing apartment, existing house, and existing tenancy, you're not putting that apartment or house up on daft.ie. You've either had no rent increase or a rent increase of 2% maximum. But we've two problems in the rental market, and they're serious problems. One is affordability. The other actually is availability, and that's a real dilemma at the moment, because you know we see traditional, you know, one property mom and pop landlords getting out, and the government is trying to get in and provide new rental properties at a discount. That's cost rental. That's a reality now. To a certain extent, investment funds are coming in, but the flight out of the market by those small mom and pop landlords is a real problem, and that has made properties almost unavailable. Never mind the high rent you might have to pay. It's very hard to find somewhere to rent at all.
Yeah, so, which brings me back to a rent freeze. Is it something that was being considered?
Would a rent freeze not make that worse, though? Would that not mean that even fewer people would be willing to put their properties out to be let? Would it not mean that more and more of those small mom and pop landlords might
Well, there's
leave
plenty of
altogether?
people, as you say, who happily have people, you know, have tenants in places, and it just provides security for those tenants in a time of crisis when we're looking at those who have the very least paying the very most for everything.
It might, but also might have a perverse effect of the person who owns that property, who's currently providing a rental property for somebody who needs it, saying, I'm now getting a 0% return, I'm out. I'm going to join the exodus from the rental market, I'm going to sell up because I can get more than 0% if I put my money anywhere else. And I know that mightn't be a popular message, but it is something that people have to consider. You know, it's well understood throughout history that when you bring in price controls, what happens? Supply goes down. You have shortages. And we have to bear in mind that there's two aspects to the rental crisis. The affordability issue, which is enormous, but also the availability.
So there's likely to be no change on that front, Tánaiste.
What's going to happen is we're going to need to take action that will increase the number of properties available for rent, because you know that's the best thing we can actually do. And if we do that, if there's more properties to rent, then that can help bring rents down. And the biggest intervention from the government is cost rental. You know, the government now provides properties for people to rent at a much lower rate than they get in the market, and we need a lot more of that.
We do need a lot more of that.